Hi, this is Jean, and I am so excited today that I get to talk to you about one of my very favorite projects, the Japanese rice bag. I discovered this pattern I think it was last spring, made my first one, and I've probably made over 30 of them. I sold a lot of them this summer when I had my show. Um, but I've come up with some tips that I think help to make your project easier. I learned something from the very first rice bag that I made. I was so excited. I used indigo fabric and I created this nice little panel, and it ended up on the corner of the rice bag. So that was when I decided, okay, I need to figure out what to do. Where is the image area? So we'll talk about that in detail. But first of all, I want to show you each of the bags that I have here. This one is kind of boring on the other sides, as you can see. I have since gotten to the point of decorating more of the sides. Now this one, I was really excited about Marcia Dursey's batiks when they came in. So you can see I've featured them along with, I like textured solid type fabrics too. And then I like to add embroidery stitches. Here I kind of took the batik and I thought, oh, those kind of look like little flowers. So I added some orange French knots. Then on this side, I did a little bit of piecing down here and added stitching. So every side has a little something, and the corners don't have the best decoration on them. Then this one, I was trying something completely different. I wanted the feeling of the land. I had visited Playa, which is in, I would say, southeastern Oregon, and it's beautiful. It's at Summer Lake, and the landscape just stuck with me. And one of the plants that had dried during the winter and was still this vibrant kind of creamy gold color, here it is, me trying to make it. And of course there were some stones, so I quilted some stones. So this gave me a chance to do some machine stitching first, to create a foundation, and then I added my embroidery stitches to that. And here's some more of those bushes and stones, and I appliqued some rocks. So you can do about anything with this project, but what I'm going to do now is take you to how I start from the very beginning. So I'm going to move these over here. When you get the pattern, the instructions are really good. And she tells you what supplies you need and what to cut. And what I wanted to know was where my image areas were going to be. So when I went to the page, and they aren't numbered, but this is what a finished rectangle, and this is a finished rectangle, the size of the bag. And you can see these tabs on here, and those are what hold the strings. These are the tabs. And so the tab ends up being in the middle of the panel when you put the drawstrings in. So there are my 4 tabs, and it tells you here how far in they are. Like the first one is 2.5 inches, then this is 8.5 and 14.5. You don't have to remember this now because it'll be right in your pattern. But referring back to the actual bag, here is the tab in the middle, so you end up with the corner here, 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 and where the seam is. And to me, that then told me where to put my fabrics that were my most favorites. So let's look at that. And this is a palette that I pulled I started with this fabric, and I liked it because of those circles and all the little textured things going on inside of them. And I thought, well, this would be a fun palette. And usually something launches me on a theme. I had a woman, though, want a bag in blues and grays this summer, and it was a custom bag. And I thought, oh, that just sounds so dull. But I put white with it and silver and the gray and blue, and it turned out really good. So here we go. This is a little scrap I had, and I kind of liked this color, you know, it kind of related to that. And then of course the gold. And then I picked a black that is more of a hand-dyed looking black. And then I had this black that's textured, which I thought it kind of looks like these things. So the other thing I didn't do, and as I started kind of pulling ideas, I realized that maybe I should put some cream color in here. And I'm looking through my creams, and this one kind of comes across yellow. I mean, it might be okay, but it has more of a warm hint to it, where this one isn't exactly this cream color either, which is a muslin color, but it's cooler. So sometimes the temperature of colors will help you to decide what to use. Probably either one of them would work, wouldn't make that much difference, but I thought I'd point that out anyway. So I'm working with these things, and sometimes I have small little pieces of things that I really want to incorporate. So your basic pattern is the body of the bag, and you'll also cut a lining from this. And then these are the tabs. And these tabs I have turned under the edges and top stitched. So then they get turned like that. So they get sewn like this, and then they flip up. But I made myself a little pattern for that too. And then this is the bottom of the bag. And what I did on my paper was wrote what the tabs are 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. The bottom and the lining of the bag, that's 7 by 7. Here is that. And this is 8 by 34. 25, excuse me. Sorry about that. And then the first bag that I made, I tried just using ribbons for ties, and they felt kind of wimpy. So I started making my own ties. And so I'm going to share that with you. They are 1 3/4 inches by 34 inches. And this one has actually, I've started processing it. So that's the 1 3/4 inches. And the first thing you do is fold it in half and press it. Then you go back, and you won't, this isn't a very fun part, but you'll fold this part in then and press that. And when you do, and you get both sides inside, you top stitch along this edge, and there's your tie. And then I always make a clean cut on the end of the tie. And when I'm finished with the drawstrings and they come out, I take and just tie them together. And you can see that here, where they've been tied together. So, okay, so now this is my thinking process. And I want something that's going to be in these tab areas. And I really like this, so I cut one of these pieces. And then I thought, okay, well, what could I put next? And so, you know, I put some gold there, but I kind of had a little bit of a a slot there if I want to keep this in the middle. So I'm thinking that I could put some of this in. And I've cut it a little bit wider because I haven't done my seam allowances yet. And you can kind of plan seam allowances as you go, but I get these main parts cut and I sew some of this together, and then I'll go to another part, sew some of that together, and then figure out what I need in between. Now, here I was thinking what would happen if I did, well, I don't want that next to that. So I'll come up here and these could get sewed together. So I would repeat this fabric, but in a different fashion. Now, the other thing I got thinking about, I could cut just a little panel and turn these edges under and applique them at an angle. Or I could cut out some circles of other kinds of fabric, and that would work too. So now what I want to do, you've seen the 3 bags I made. I have 2 in progress. So I'm going to scoot this up and let you look at these ones in progress, and that will give you some ideas too. Okay, we'll look at the blue one first. And this one was not looking very yummy. When it was just the blues, I thought, oh, I just need to add something. And I love magenta. So this needs to be appliqued down, so I haven't done that yet. It's just pinned on here. And then this little piece I appliqued, and see how it isn't even exactly straight? And then I put this little piece on too. I thought, you know, I had these 2 things of white, then I needed something else white, and then I have a little white here. But you can see there's a lot of scraps of things in here. Not everything is the same type of blue. This is a more intense blue, but this is a commercial fabric. These are hand-dyed fabrics. You know, here's a piece of denim. Here's a piece of Essex, and Essex is a cotton linen blend, and we love Essex. It's a little bit heavier fabric and really fun to use. I have a jar of buttons still from my grandmother, and so I dug around in Grandma Mita's buttons and thought, oh, buttons will be great on here. And maybe I'll put some more on too. I don't know at this point, but you can see what I've done now. Once I got it to this stage, then I start playing with stitching. None of this stitching is real fancy stitches. This is a running stitch. You just go in and out. This are X's, and I don't want them all going exactly the same way. Here's some running stitch, and I used some 12 weight thread for that. 12 weight thread is comes on a spool, and you can use it in your sewing machine, or you can use it for hand stitching, and that's what I'm using on here. But this one is from Sulky, and I just love the 12 weight thread for stitching, especially when I want a fine line. So, okay, this is the lining for the bag. So that's what the lining is going to be. But before I start stitching on the bag, I put on one of my favorite products, which is a lightweight woven fusible interfacing. This one's called Shape Flex, and it comes from Pellon. But why I like it is that you use it, and this is still flexible, but yet it gives it enough body that it's going to stand up pretty well. See, all of these have Shape Flex. I just found with the very first bag, I could see it was going to start flopping. Now, if you want that style of bag and have it just kind of do this, then you don't need to use Shape Flex. But I always just make sure I have some of this on hand, and if I have a really lightweight piece of fabric, a real gauzy piece of fabric that is perfect, I will put this on first before I piece it. And then it'll get another layer of it when I put it behind the whole thing. Now I have one more bag to show you. Yeah, see, I put it on this fabric because it's a woven, but it's a little flimsy. So, and you can see it really firms it up. I think you can kind of see that. And this piece had it on it, and so did this. So now, this one, I was wanting to use these two fabrics with something, and they're kind of dull. I mean, it's just gray and white. So adding this yellow color just, to me, made it come alive. And I've used lots of the clues from the fabric in how to embellish. You can see here that this is kind of a rock print, and half the rock was cut off. So I just went ahead and finished stitching it. Same here, and then I added a rock. I could even do more if I want to. And here, these are kind of pine needles, so I just went over the top of them. Here's some more rocks, and then there's a little nest. But that was really fun to do, and now that I'm looking at it, I think I'm going to add some more. I thought it was done at that point, but I don't really think it is done. I hope this gives you some ideas on how to approach making rice bags. I just taught a class in this a couple weeks ago, and I had cut out a bunch of these papers for them to have at their tables, and it was really helpful in the design process. So that's what I really wanted to be able to share with you so that you can be very successful in your rice bag and not have your best part come out on the corner like mine did the first time. Thank you.